He accused me of almost causing his white moonlight to miscarry, while I was pregnant with his child. On the cold operating table, I chose to end everything, including our wedding. He thought I was just being spiteful, unaware that I held the secret of his infertility, and this accidental pregnancy was the beginning of a betrayal he orchestrated himself. The glaring operating light hung blindingly overhead, and the cold instruments touched my skin, bringing a slight tremor. I lay on the operating table, conscious, yet feeling like a part of my soul had been extracted. A dull ache came from my abdomen, reminding me of what I had just lost, a child who once filled me with joy and who I thought was the crystallization of love. Ironically, this joy was as short-lived as a bubble. Just days before, I was still immersed in the shock and joy of the 2 red lines on the pregnancy test. Ethan, the heir apparent to Sterling Group, and I had been in love for 3 years and were about to enter the halls of marriage. The arrival of this child seemed to be the most perfect gift God had given us. I had even started secretly browsing baby products, imagining the warm and loving picture of our future family of 3. However, this longing was completely shattered by a phone call. On the other end of the phone, Ethan's voice was icy and piercing, with not a trace of the joy of becoming a father, only a barrage of accusations. Ava, what exactly did you do to Olivia? She almost had a miscarriage. The doctor said she was frightened and pushed. How could you be so vicious? Olivia, the friend Ethan spoke of who needed meticulous care and couldn't suffer the slightest grievance. The white moonlight he claimed to have let go of years ago. Holding the phone, I felt absurd and chilled to the bone. Ethan, what are you talking about? I've been at home all day today. I haven't seen Olivia at all. Haven't seen her? Olivia said you asked her out, deliberately provoked her, and even pushed her. Ava, I really didn't expect you to be this kind of person, to force me to marry you as soon as possible. You'd even resort to such dirty tricks? His voice was full of disgust and disappointment, every word like a poison needle, piercing my heart. I didn't. I tried to defend myself, but my voice trembled uncontrollably. Ethan, I'm pregnant. It's your child. How could I do something to hurt someone else's child? I thought this news would at least calm him down and make him realize that something was wrong. However, there was a deathly silence on the other end of the phone, followed by an even deeper chill. Pregnant? Ava, are you using this kind of lie to gain my sympathy? Is it interesting? Even if you are really pregnant, so what? Olivia is in a very dangerous situation now, and if her child can't be saved, I will never let you go. A lie? My heart sank completely. Ethan, I'm not lying. Enough. He interrupted me rudely. About the wedding, I think we should cancel it for now. I need time to cool down and also take good care of Olivia. Before you learn to trust me and stop playing these tricks, we are not suitable for marriage. Cancel the wedding. These 4 words were like a heavy hammer, hitting my heart hard. I recalled the process of preparing for our wedding, the repeated postponements. Each time he had a perfect excuse. Either he was busy with work or the timing was not right. And each postponement seemed to be related to Olivia's unexpected situation. Either she suddenly fell ill and needed care, or she was emotionally down and needed company. So, I have been living under his control all along. This wedding was just a tool for him to appease me from the beginning, and I was just a shield for him to cover up his affair with Olivia. A huge wave of sadness and anger instantly engulfed me. I took a deep breath, trying to make my voice sound calm, even though my fingertips were already cold. Fine, Ethan, the wedding is off, not postponed, completely off. As you wish. Hanging up the phone, I didn't cry, just felt incredibly tired. The dull pain in my abdomen seemed more pronounced. This child, arriving at such an inopportune time, its father simply didn't deserve it. I made a difficult decision and scheduled the soonest possible procedure. Lying on this cold operating table was the last bit of mercy I could show myself, and this unborn child. After the surgery, as the anesthesia gradually wore off, the weakness in my body and the pain in my abdomen made it almost impossible to stand. But I didn't call anyone, and alone, dragged my tired body out of the hospital. I didn't go home, but instead drove to the honeymoon suite Ethan had painstakingly prepared, the apartment that symbolized our future. I needed to get back what belonged to me, and I also needed an answer that would completely make me give up. Unlocking the door with my fingerprint, a strange perfume assaulted my senses, sickeningly sweet. A woman's jacket was carelessly draped over the living room sofa, and a designer handbag that wasn't mine sat on the coffee table. In the entryway shoe cabinet, Several pairs of distinctly feminine high heels brazenly occupied the space that was once mine. Another woman had already taken over my nest. My heart felt like it was being clenched tightly by an invisible hand, making it almost impossible to breathe. I walked towards the master bedroom, my steps unsteady. The door wasn't completely closed, and muffled, suggestive sounds of panting and low voices of a man and a woman came from inside. "Ethan, you're so bad." It was Olivia's charmingly seductive voice. "You little enchantress, aren't you the one who seduced me?" Ethan's voice was filled with post-coital laziness and satisfaction. "Were you scared just now? Don't worry, I've already taken care of Ava. The wedding is cancelled." "Really? That's great." Olivia's voice was filled with surprise. "Then, when can we? What's the rush?" Ethan chuckled. "The position of Sterling Group's heir's wife can only be yours, but now is not the time. Ava still has some value. Besides, doesn't she always think I love her? Let her continue to dream for a while. But, what if she really gets pregnant?" Olivia's voice was filled with a hint of worry. "Pregnant?" Ethan chuckled, his tone filled with disdain. "Her? Huh, have you forgotten I have?" The words that followed were interrupted by muffled kissing sounds, but I had already heard clearly. So, I was not only a substitute but also a fool he had been using from beginning to end and never loved. I could no longer suppress the raging anger and nausea in my chest, and I pushed open the bedroom door abruptly. The scene before me was unbearable. On the messy bed, Ethan and Olivia were entangled naked, the air filled with the scent of lust. Seeing me suddenly burst in, Olivia screamed and hurriedly pulled the quilt over herself, but her face wore a hint of provocation and triumph. Ethan's reaction chilled me even more. He didn't show the slightest panic, just frowned, his eyes full of impatience at being disturbed and undisguised disgust towards me. "Ava, what are you doing here? Who let you in? What am I doing here?" I looked at him, my voice trembling with anger. "Ethan, this is my wedding room. I want to ask, what are you doing here?" Ethan slowly put on a robe, walked up to me, looked down at me condescendingly, and said in a cold tone, "Ava, we have already cancelled the wedding. And, I have said many times, Olivia and I are just friends. Why won't you believe me? Do you have to make such an ugly scene? Friends?" I laughed in extreme anger. "Is this how you are honest with friends on our wedding bed?" "Sister Ava, don't blame Ethan. It's all my fault." Olivia wrapped herself in the quilt, revealing a pitiful expression. "I know I shouldn't have come here, but I love Ethan so much. I can't control myself. Please grant us our wish to be together." "Grant our wish?" What ridiculous words. Ethan seemed to find my existence extremely annoying and waved his hand impatiently. "All right, Ava, stop making a fuss. Now that you've seen it, I won't hide it from you. Olivia and I are indeed together, but I can promise you, as long as you behave yourself, the position of future mistress of Sterling Group will still be yours. After the marriage, we'll live our own lives and not interfere with each other." "Live our own lives? What does he take me for? A puppet to be manipulated at will, without dignity?" My gaze swept across the face that once made my heart flutter, but now it only felt incredibly strange and ugly. A strong sense of nausea surged up my throat. "Ethan," I said, looking into his eyes, clearly and deliberately, "have you forgotten that you have severe oligozoospermia? The doctor said a long time ago that your chances of conceiving naturally are almost zero." This was his biggest secret, and the source of his self-esteem, which he desperately tried to maintain. He had always cultivated an image of health and strength, and even when we discussed future children, he never mentioned it, only saying that the timing wasn't right. As expected, Ethan's face instantly turned pale, and then turned to violent rage. As if he had been hit where it hurt most, he suddenly raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. Slap. The crisp sound was particularly jarring in the silent room. My cheek stung, and I even tasted a hint of blood at the corner of my mouth. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Ethan roared, his eyes bloodshot with anger. "Ava, are you making up these lies to slander me in order to get revenge?" The intense pain and humiliation made me feel dizzy. My abdomen, due to the previous excitement and the current shock, began to have sharp cramps. I clutched my stomach, and cold sweat instantly soaked my back. "Ethan, my stomach hurts. Take me to the hospital," I said weakly, my voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. My body, having just undergone surgery, couldn't withstand such torment. However, Ethan's attention was completely drawn to Olivia, who was pretending to be weak beside him. She let out a soft groan at the right moment. Clutching her heart and frowning, Ethan, I don't feel well. Ethan immediately turned to Olivia with concern. His tone as gentle as if he were a different person. Olivia, what's wrong? Where do you feel unwell? I'll take you to the hospital right away. He carefully helped Olivia up, as if she were a fragile treasure, and the fiancé who had just endured his violence and was in great pain at this moment, was completely ignored by him. Ethan, I pleaded again, the pain in my abdomen growing more and more intense, almost making me unable to stand. Ethan turned to look at me impatiently, his eyes cold and cruel. What are you pretending for? Ava, let me tell you, don't think you can use this pathetic trick to win my sympathy. You and the bastard in your belly, he obviously doesn't believe it's mine, can both get out. After saying that, he actually raised his foot and kicked my lower abdomen hard again. Ugh. The intense pain made me curl up on the ground instantly. My vision went black, and I almost fainted, but he didn't even look at me. He just held Olivia, who was uncomfortable, and quickly left the apartment. The door slammed shut, isolating everything outside, and also cutting off my last glimmer of hope. I lay on the cold floor, waves of sharp pain in my abdomen washing over me, and a warm liquid seemed to be slowly flowing from under me. My consciousness gradually blurred, and the remaining survival instinct made me fumble for my phone and dial the emergency number with trembling hands. When I woke up again, I was already lying in a hospital bed. The pungent smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils, and the pain in my abdomen was still there, but it was not as unbearable. The doctor told me that due to not resting well after the operation, coupled with a severe impact, I had a massive hemorrhage. Fortunately, I was rescued in time, otherwise the consequences would have been disastrous. The door of the ward was suddenly pushed open, and Ethan walked in with a gloomy face. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked like he hadn't slept all night, but it wasn't because he was worried about me, but because of anger. Ava, you're really something. He walked to my bedside, his voice like ice. You even aborted the child to get back at me? You even canceled the wedding without permission. Do you know how much negative impact this will have on the Sterling Group? He thought I deliberately got rid of the baby. Looking at his furious face, I felt numb and didn't even have the strength to explain. Yes, in his heart, I am such a vicious and scheming woman. Answer me. Seeing that I didn't speak, Ethan's anger grew even stronger. He suddenly bent down and grabbed my neck with both hands. The feeling of suffocation instantly hit me, and I struggled in vain, scratching his arms with my hands. His strength was astonishing, and his eyes were so fierce that he seemed to want to devour me alive. Who do you think you are? Just the daughter of my father's comrade, an orphan who needs our family's support to survive. If it weren't for your deceased father, do you think you'd have the chance to stand by my side? Do you really take yourself seriously? He growled through gritted teeth, every word filled with venomous insults. My background, the pain I least want people to mention, was now ruthlessly torn open by him and exposed in broad daylight. So, in his eyes, I have always been such an insignificant existence. A strong desire to survive made me burst out with my last bit of strength, and I pushed him away with all my might. Violent coughing almost took my breath away, and clear finger marks were left on my neck. Cough, cough. Ethan, I gasped, looking at the ferocious-looking man in front of me, the last trace of affection in my heart completely extinguished. Don't you want to know how the child was lost? Then I'll tell you. I raised my head to meet his gaze, my voice cold and clear. While you and your dear Olivia were frolicking on our wedding bed, I was lying on a cold operating table. That's right, the child is gone, but I didn't abort it. It was because of your kick. Ethan Sterling, you personally killed your child. I paused, watching the shock and disbelief flash across his face, and continued, also, why do you think I got accidentally pregnant? Don't forget, you have severe oligozoospermia. The doctor had already determined that your chances of conceiving naturally were slim to none. This child was a miracle you didn't deserve. Now it's gone, and good riddance. I don't care about it anymore either. Ethan's face went from red to white, then from white to green, as if someone had grabbed him firmly by the throat, and he couldn't utter a word for a long time. He probably never thought that his proud male dignity and fertility would be so bluntly exposed by me. Impossible, the doctor clearly said. He muttered to himself, his eyes beginning to lose focus. What did the doctor say? That there was still a glimmer of hope? Or that it could be done through technological means? I sneered. Ethan, don't fool yourself. You know your own situation better than anyone. You got me pregnant just to give the Sterling family an explanation. or perhaps to better exploit me, appease me, so you and Olivia can continue your secret affair, right? My words were like sharp knives, accurately piercing his most vulnerable spots. He staggered back a step, his face filled with shock, shame, and undisguised panic. Enough, Ava, shut up, he roared, trying to cover up his loss of composure. What? Did I hit a nerve, making you fly into a rage out of humiliation? I met his gaze without fear, my heart filled with utter disgust and determination. Ethan, the game is over. I grant you your wish. I wish you and Olivia a long and happy life together. Just then, the hospital room door was pushed open again. Olivia, dressed in a designer dress and with delicate makeup, walked in gracefully. When she saw me on the hospital bed, a hint of triumph flashed in her eyes, which she quickly replaced with that weak and innocent expression. Ava, are you okay? Ethan is very worried about you. She walked to Ethan, intimately took his arm, and then, as if unintentionally, raised her left hand and gently stroked Ethan's arm. In the sunlight, a brilliant diamond ring sparkled on her ring finger, the wedding ring that should have been mine. Look, Ava, Olivia gave me a winner's smile. Ethan still chose me. He's already given me this ring. Ethan didn't refute, but just stood there with a grim face, letting Olivia show off. He didn't seem to have recovered from my revelation just now, or rather, he acquiesced to Olivia's behavior. I looked at them and felt nothing but irony. This is the man I have loved for 3 years and was about to entrust my life to. Ethan finally found his voice. He Olivia's hand and tried to step forward, forcing a stiff, false gentleness onto his face. Ava, listen to me. I know you're very angry now, but there's still feelings between us, isn't there? As long as you are obedient, sensible, and stop making trouble, the position of the future mistress of Sterling Group is still yours. We can have children in the future. He was still trying to control me with his self-righteous logic, using the so-called position of Mrs. Gu and the illusory future children to draw a pie in the sky. Get out. I couldn't stand his hypocrisy any longer and roared with all my might. I grabbed the glass from the bedside table and smashed it hard on the ground. The sound of glass shattering was sharp and piercing. Ethan Sterling, get out. Take your Olivia and get out of my sight. I find you disgusting. I pointed at the door, my body trembling violently with agitation, and the wound in my abdomen sent bursts of pain, but I didn't care. At this moment, I just wanted them to disappear from my world completely. Ethan was taken aback by my reaction. A trace of astonishment and hurt flashed across his face. He probably had never seen me so out of control, so hysterical. Ava, calm down. He tried to approach. Don't touch me. I pushed away his outstretched hand and roared in disgust. Just then, I grabbed the pillow next to me and wanted to smash it at him again. However, Olivia suddenly screamed and suddenly stood in front of Ethan. The pillow hit her softly, not hurting at all, but she seemed to have been hit by a heavy object. Her body swayed, she covered her forehead, and let out a painful moan. Ah, it hurts so much. Sister Ava, I know you hate me, but you can't hurt me like this. Her eyes instantly turned red, tears welled up in her eyes, and her eyes were filled with grievance and fear as she looked at Ethan, like a delicate white flower being bullied by a vicious stepsister. Olivia. Ethan immediately helped her up anxiously, glaring at me. Ava, you've gone too far. Olivia was just kind enough to come see you, and you actually hit her? I watched their clumsy acting and felt nauseous. This adulterous couple is a match made in heaven. Kindness? She came to laugh at me. I sneered. Ethan, stop your hypocritical nonsense. You too. Now. Immediately. Get out of here. Ethan looked at my resolute eyes, then looked at the trembling Olivia in his arms, and ultimately chose the latter. He glared at me fiercely, dropped the line, Ava, you will regret this, and then carefully helped Olivia leave the ward. The ward finally returned to silence, leaving only my heavy breathing and a mess on the floor. I collapsed on the hospital bed, my body weak, but my heart was calmer than ever before. It's completely over. Ethan Sterling and I are no longer possible. In the following days, I completed the discharge procedures, quickly handled some affairs in the country, and then boarded a flight to a foreign country. I needed to leave this place full of pain and betrayal and go to a place where no one knew me to start over. I chose to continue my studies in the UK. In a foreign country, I tried to adjust my mindset, focus on learning, and try to numb myself with busyness. However, the shadows of the past are not so easy to get rid of. Not long after, I saw a post from Olivia on Instagram. It was a photo with a luxurious living room as the background. A hand wearing the diamond ring that once belonged to me was gently caressing a slightly bulging belly. The caption read, "Looking forward to the arrival of our little angel." Heart. Ethan's face wasn't in the photo, but I recognized his hand instantly, the one with distinct knuckles and an expensive watch. The comments section was even more lively. Ethan's cronies left messages one after another. "Congratulations, Ethan, finally going to be a dad. Olivia's sister-in-law is so beautiful. This is what the future mistress of Sterling Group should look like. Those gold diggers who want to get ahead by using their bellies can give up completely. Ha ha ha." Exactly. They should take a look at their own background. Still dreaming of becoming a phoenix by climbing onto a branch? Their words are full of belittlement and ridicule towards me. They obviously already know about my breakup with Ethan and are blaming me for everything. Looking at these vile words, my fingers trembled slightly. Anger and humiliation surged again, but I forced myself to calm down. It's pointless to get angry with these clowns. I simply silently exited Instagram, out of sight, out of mind. However, there are some people who will come to you even if you don't seek them out. One night, I received an international call from an unknown number. When I answered, Olivia's triumphant voice came through. "Ava, long time no see. Are you getting used to being abroad? Aren't you envious of me? I am now Ethan's rightful fiancé, and I'm pregnant with his child." I frowned, intending to hang up, but on second thought, I pressed the call recording button. "Get to the point. I'm busy," I said coldly. "Oh, don't be so cold." Olivia's voice was full of boasting. "I just wanted to tell you that Ethan and I are getting married soon, and we will definitely send you an invitation." "Oh, right. Ethan also said that he never loved you. Being with you was just because he felt sorry for you and to appease his family. He said that a woman like you with no family background doesn't deserve him at all. Being his mistress is already a compliment." She paused, seemingly deliberately trying to provoke me. "He also said that it's fortunate that your bastard wasn't born. Otherwise who knows who the father would be? After all, a woman like you would do anything to climb up the social ladder." Olivia was still babbling on, saying all sorts of insulting things to me, and on the other end of the phone, the voice of Ethan could be faintly heard, as if he was urging her. Okay, I'm not talking to you anymore. Ethan's calling me." Olivia's tone became coquettish. "Anyway, Ava, just give up. Ethan is mine, and the position of future mistress of Sterling Group will only be mine." Before she hung up, I clearly heard Ethan say impatiently on the other side, "Why are you wasting so much time talking to that bitch? Come over here quickly." Holding my phone, listening to the clearly recorded conversation inside, Olivia's provocation, Ethan's insult, and his own admission that he never loved me and was just using me, the corners of my mouth slowly curved into a cold arc. "Olivia, thank you for this great gift you sent me. I devoted myself to studying in the UK, striving to improve myself. Time is the best medicine." The pain gradually scabbed over, but I never forgot the humiliation and betrayal. I was waiting for the right opportunity, one that would allow me to reclaim all the lost dignity. With interest, 2 years later, I completed my studies with excellent grades. At this time, news came from China that the founder of Sterling Group, Ethan's grandfather, was seriously ill, and Ethan's uncle, Gu Zishu, Jason Sterling, a person who had always been low-key in the family, but reportedly had strong skills and was quite capable, began to gradually take over some of the group's core businesses. I felt that the time had come. I booked a ticket back to China. Ethan quickly learned about my return, probably thinking that I had been living poorly abroad these past 2 years and had finally figured it out and came back to seek reconciliation. He contacted me proactively, his tone carrying a subtle sense of superiority and condescension. "Ava, you're back? It's good you've thought it through. Let's meet up sometime." I didn't refuse, and even showed a hint of hesitation and unforgettable old love. This made Ethan even more proud. He thought I was still the Ava he could easily manipulate. He proposed that at his grandfather's birthday banquet, which was also an important family gathering, I should return to his side. He said it was the best opportunity to prove to everyone that we were back together. That's exactly what I wanted. The Gu family's, Sterling family's, birthday banquet was attended by many distinguished guests, with elegant dresses and glamorous hairstyles everywhere. I appeared in the banquet hall wearing a proper dress. Ethan immediately came up to me with a hypocritical smile on his face, habitually wanting to take my hand. I skillfully avoided his touch and said calmly, Ethan, don't rush. There are some things that I think it's better to make clear in front of everyone. Ethan was stunned for a moment, then assumed that I wanted to give him a way out in front of everyone, so he nodded with a smile. Okay, you say it. I looked around, my eyes finally landing on the middle-aged man in the main seat, whose face was stern but whose eyes were sharp. Jason Sterling, Ethan's uncle. I heard that he was upright and had long been dissatisfied with some of Ethan and his mother's actions. I took a deep breath and walked to the center of the banquet hall, picking up the microphone. Distinguished guests, elders and friends of the Sterling family, good evening. My voice was clear and calm, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Today, taking advantage of the old gentleman's birthday banquet, I would like to clarify some things about my relationship with Mr. Ethan Sterling. The smile on Ethan's face froze. He seemed to have a premonition of something and wanted to come forward to stop me. Firstly, Mr. Ethan and I have long since had no relationship. I ignored his warning gaze and continued. Secondly, I would like to play a recording for everyone to hear. I took out my phone and connected it to the banquet hall's audio equipment. The next second, the recording of Olivia and Ethan's conversation, full of insults and scheming, clearly echoed throughout the entire banquet hall. Ethan also said that he never loved you and was only with you out of pity. He said a woman like you, with no family background, is not worthy of him. It's a good thing that bastard of yours wasn't born. Why waste so much time talking to that bitch? Come over here now. After the recording finished, the whole place was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were focused on Ethan, whose face was pale and who was teetering. He probably never dreamed that his private, filthy thoughts and malicious words would be revealed by me in this way. Ava, you're a lunatic. Ethan, shamed into anger, his eyes bloodshot, looked like a furious beast, raising his hand to strike me. However, his wrist was firmly grabbed in midair. It was Jason Sterling. He had walked to my side at some point, looking at Ethan with icy eyes. Ethan, watch your position and the occasion. Jason's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an undeniable authority. He released Ethan's hand, turned to me, and his eyes held a hint of imperceptible appreciation. Miss Ava, if you feel offended, you have the right to defend your dignity. His words were like a tacit agreement, an encouragement. I looked at the man in front of me who was out of control, the man who had once broken my heart and humiliated me. The anger and grievances that had been building up for 2 years erupted completely at this moment. I raised my hand and, with all my strength, slapped Ethan hard across the face. Slap. The loud sound echoed in the silent banquet hall. Ethan was stunned by the slap, covering his face and looking at me in disbelief. Ethan Sterling, this slap is for my dead child. I looked at him, my voice icy. This slap is for the 2 years of deception and manipulation you put me through. At this moment, Ethan's mother, a dignified and wealthy woman with a sharp look in her eyes, quickly walked over, trying to smooth things over. Oh, Ava, isn't there some misunderstanding here? Ethan was just confused for a moment. Young people, it's inevitable to make mistakes. Misunderstanding? I interrupted her with a cold laugh. Mrs. Sterling, wasn't the recording clear enough? Or do you think that your son's personal insults towards me, admitting that he never loved me, and even cursing my unborn child, can all be lightly dismissed with a simple moment of confusion? Ethan's mother was rendered speechless by my retort, her face alternating between green and white. Just as the scene was becoming tense, a shrill female voice rang out, Ava, you bitch, I'm going to kill you. It was Olivia. She had appeared in the banquet hall unnoticed, and was now rushing towards me with bloodshot eyes, holding a small bottle of unidentified liquid in her hand. Careful. Jason Sterling reacted quickly, pulling me behind him and simultaneously kicking Olivia's wrist. The small bottle slipped from her hand and fell onto the carpet, making a sizzling sound and emitting a puff of white smoke. It was sulfuric acid. Olivia was quickly subdued by the bodyguards, but she was still struggling and screaming frantically. Let me go. I'm going to kill her. She ruined everything for me. Ethan was also stunned by this sudden turn of events. He looked at Olivia, who was being restrained, and then at the trace of white smoke on the ground, his face pale. At this moment, Jason Sterling said coldly, Miss Olivia, you are suspected of intentional injury, and we will report it to the police. He paused and turned his gaze to Ethan. Also, Ethan, I just received news from the hospital that Miss Olivia was sent for examination. The results show that she is not pregnant at all. That so-called pregnant belly is fake. Not only me, but even Ethan widened his eyes in shock. looking at Olivia in disbelief. Olivia's face turned as pale as paper in an instant, her eyes darting around, not daring to look at Ethan. Fake pregnancy? Ethan murmured to himself. Then, as if understanding something, he rushed to Olivia, grabbed her shoulders. You lied to me? You've been lying to me all along? Olivia, shaken by him, finally broke down and cried. Ethan, I didn't mean to. I love you so much. I was afraid of losing you. Ethan, however, seemed completely deaf to everything. He abruptly shook off Olivia and then made a move that surprised everyone. He thumped and knelt down in front of me. Ava, please let me explain. He grabbed the hem of my skirt, his face full of panic and fear. It's all her. It's all that bitch Olivia who tricked me. She's been stirring up trouble between us. I actually still have feelings for you. Can you forgive me? Let's start over. I'll break off the relationship with her immediately. Looking at Ethan kneeling on the ground, weeping and sniveling, trying to push all the responsibility onto Olivia and trying to falsely win me back again. I felt only endless sorrow and disgust. This man is beyond saving. I pulled my skirt hem out of his grasp, took a step back, and completely distanced myself from him. My eyes went past him, looking at Jason Sterling, who had been quietly standing beside me, protecting me. His eyes were calm and firm, giving me a sense of inexplicable peace. Ethan Sterling. I looked down at him, my tone calm and unwavering. It's too late. Between us, it's long over. My indifference and the silent exchange between Jason Sterling and me seemed to completely provoke Ethan. He looked at me, then at Jason, his eyes turning frantic and desperate. Ava, you won't forgive me? Are you fancying my uncle? He roared, suddenly grabbing a fruit knife from the table next to him. What do you want to do? Jason shouted sternly. Ethan, however, pointed the knife at his own abdomen, looking at me with crazy eyes. Ava, if you don't agree to come back to me today, I'll die in front of you. He's actually threatening me with self-harm. I looked at his distorted face, without a trace of emotion in my heart, only complete numbness. This man has resorted to any means to achieve his goals, even using his own life to act. Ethan, put the knife down. Jason tried to stabilize him. However, Ethan seemed not to hear. He looked at me, his eyes filled with obsessive madness. Ava, I'm asking you one last time, will you come back to me or not? I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and when I opened them again, my eyes were calm and unwavering. Ethan, your life and death have nothing to do with me. My words became the last straw that broke him. He let out a desperate roar, and the knife in his hand stabbed fiercely into his abdomen. Blood gushed out instantly, staining his white shirt red. He staggered and fell to the ground, his eyes still fixed on me, as if trying to see a trace of regret or compassion on my face. But I didn't. In the end, Ethan's self-stabbing didn't kill him, but because he injured his nerves, he became paralyzed from the waist down. Unable to accept this reality, he became increasingly depressed in the hospital, and his mental state deteriorated. Finally, one late night, he ended his miserable life with a bed sheet. Olivia was sentenced to prison for intentional injury, attempted sulfuric acid attack. In prison, she couldn't bear the huge gap and blow, became mentally disordered, and was insane all day long. As for me, with Jason Sterling's support and help, I returned to school and continued my studies. I chose to study abroad and completed my doctoral studies in a foreign country. Several years later, I chose to return to China to develop and entered a top university to teach. Coincidentally, my Ph.D. supervisor is Jason Sterling, who has already become the de facto head of the Sterling Group. Sunlight streamed through the office window, bathing us in its glow. He looked at the thesis I submitted, a gentle smile playing on his lips. Ava, you've done very well. I returned his smile, my heart filled with clarity. The shadows of the past had long since dissipated, and the mature, stable man before me, who offered me respect and support, represented my new, healthy future. My rebirth has only just begun. What